What's up, fam? Elijah here, and welcome back to another episode of EXTOL WE. And this week, Tim is my extra and I am the ordinary. Friends, the video that went live this last week is God So Loves, connected 3.5 years ago in the past to no other name. I have written myself notes because I have so many things flying through my heart and mind that I have to, or this video is gonna wind up being an hour long. It was so beautiful that my mom and dad came up and visited us here recently, brought up a bunch of keepsake pictures for me to store at my house rather than having them at her house. It was so beautiful to go back through and find some of the pictures that correlated to the video and everything I shared about in last week's video called God So Loves. I found this beauty. I want to show you this nutty picture of when I was in college. I got a super tight perm being silly, and I would pick my hair out. It had this massive fro. I remember one time I was walking down 27th Street at Montana State University in Billings, heading down to a coffee shop, was rocking this hairstyle and this exact shirt. And this guy was staring at me so hard that he actually drove up onto the curb and almost wrecked his car. It was so fun and silly. This picture is of me and my brother and my two sisters celebrating my sister Sarah's birthday in the house that I was in that they tore down. Proof positive, it was there. And these are the lilac bushes that I talked about that we used to hide in. It was so beautiful to be able to hide up underneath of there. They're so thick. It was like a little fort, but it smelled so good to be in there. And that's my dog Bolt, my brother's dog Sal. The garage that I told you about that we built, the very first structure that I ever designed and built on my own, that my mom came out, snapped this picture on an old disposable camera. There it is. And that's the little playground set that I designed and built. My brother and I used to ride around for hours. This is my brother on his horse Sunny. I'm on my horse Smokey. We'd chase each other around, play cowboys and Indians for hours. And then in my video, No Other Name, that I was talking about how we rode in this parade. This person came by, was snapping pictures of all the people who were participating. We're getting our horses ready. We're all duded up, getting our horses all saddled up with me and my horse Smokey. And then I said I couldn't remember whether or not we had ice cream sandwiches or ice cream bars. Obviously we were eating popsicles, but this is the picnic table under the awning that I recorded the video No Other Name in. It's so wild to see how many things change over the years, but even though the structures change or pass away or fade, that the things that God has taught us within those structures remains. Now, this last week, it was a difficult week, but a good week in that as I was going out to record my videos for EXTOL WE, I was getting my camera out of the car, and this lady pulled into a cul-de-sac, saw me with the camera and said, "Hey, what's the story, man? Like, what are you doing? Let's chat." An hour later, we had a beautiful conversation. We laughed, we cried literally numerous times, talking together about our love of different things in life. About 3/4 of the way through the conversation, the Lord tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You need to tell her how you are doing these things in your life so that she can know who it is that she's admiring." And so as I was talking about this one story, I said, I'm a follower of Jesus. And as I was driving in my car, the Holy Spirit tapped me on the right shoulder, and I turned around, I saw, and I finished the story. And there was an immediate shift in our conversation. From that point on, that she would every minute to 2 minutes or so say, "I don't care if you're a Buddhist or an agnostic or an atheist or a Christian, you don't have to be a Christian to engage this stuff." And from that point on in the conversation, there was just this constant pushback. Talk to me about anything you want to, but don't talk to me in the name of Jesus or I will oppose it. It was so interesting to experience that dynamic. And that then I walked off then into the woods to record my video. And as I was getting done, I was wrapping up my camera, was getting ready to come up from the creek bottom, and there was this gentleman stopped by with his dog that had been walking back and forth. He said like 3 or 4 times, just cruising by. waiting for me to get done with my video because he's like, man, are you a famous YouTuber? Like, this is an amazing rig you've got and you're so comfortable on camera. Like, I just wanted to chat with you and see, like, do you have a YouTube channel? I do. Thank you so much for asking. And then he asked, how many subscribers do you have? I said, 133. His face fell and he's like, oh, so wow, dude. He's like, you must just be getting started out. Don't worry, man. The subscribers are gonna come because you are amazing. And I said, well, thanks for that, but I've been at this for almost 6 years. He was so confused. The look on his face, I wish I would have taken a picture. He said, man, well, then I can tell that you really love doing this and you have extreme vision for it because that's wild. Absolutely. Thank you for that. It's very encouraging and also very challenging. As I drove home, friends, I began to have such a hard time in my heart wrestling through, like, what is it that I'm building? Like, yeah, that is a little ridiculous. I've been at this for 6 years and I have 133 subscribers. Holy smokes, Jesus, talk to me here, man, because I'm falling down on the job. It was then, again, second week in a row that God encouraged me through social media. Family, as I was scrolling through Facebook, that I came across this video of this Galton board, which is based around Pascal's triangle. Now, that's why I have notes for myself. If I'm not careful, this video is going to be a doctoral thesis of the things that God has shown me through this silly contraption. Now, the beautiful thing about a Galton board and the dynamics of Pascal's triangle is that as all of these little BBs go into this top reservoir, there's over 17,000 little BBs in this reservoir, that when you tip it up, that they'll all pour down and they will self-organize themselves into this bell curve distribution every single time. No matter how many times you flip this board, you flip it down, they all fall, and they go back into this bell curve distribution. Now, out of that, the math of the Pascal's triangle is very simple to understand. At the very top of the triangle, you have the number 1. That then you take that one and you add it to the number that is to the left and the right. In this first one, all throughout as well, there is an imaginary 0 to the right and to the left of the 1. So for row number 1 is 1. You add that to the number that's to its left and drop that down, which is going to be 1. And then you add it to the number on the right, which is also 1. Now for row number 3, you add 1 to the imaginary 0 and you get 1. But then you add 1 plus 1, which is 2, and then 1 plus 0 is also 1. Drop that down and then you have 1, 3, 3, 1, and then 1, 4, 6, 4, 1, so on and so forth as the triangle unfolds. Now with that, the triangle gets really big, really fast. The dynamics are amazing. Now, how the physics of this Galton board works is that as the BBs come in from the top and they hit the peg that is located under the first place, that the ball that hits that peg has the opportunity to go 50-50 chance to go either to the left or to the right and then continue down through the structures. As it meets the next peg though, it also has the opportunity to hit that peg and it has a 50-50 chance to go to the left or to the right. And on this one to the far right, to the left or the right, 50-50 chance. Now, as the ball bounces down all of those pegs, when it gets to this peg here under the number 2, what the number 2 represents is that the ball had 2 pathways previous to this peg that it could travel through to get to the number 2. So it hits this first peg, number 1, second peg, number 2, and as it comes to this peg, it has traveled through 2 individual paths before getting to that peg. Now, as that spreads all the way through this entire pattern, when we get down here all the way to the very bottom, this peg here on the very bottom of this triangle, that there are 12,870 paths throughout this entire triangle that are then able to get to this peg. So if you're a betting person, And you're going to bet on any peg of which one is going to receive the most balls that travel through it. You want to bet on this one right here, 12,870. God began to speak to me through Pascal's triangle and talk about how this is a representation of the kingdom of heaven. In 1 Corinthians chapter 12, it talks about the body and how God has ordered the parts of the body so that there would be no division, but that there would be unity within it. It talks about how one body part that has a specific aspect of their life that they do really well, they can't look at another body part and say, well, because you're a nose, we don't need you because I'm the eye and everybody should be an eye. If it was all an eye, uniformity leads to disability through deformity to conformity. Think about it. It does make sense. Now here it says the eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you. And the head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. And the parts that we think are less honorable, we treat with special honor. And the parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty, while our presentable parts need no special treatment. But God has put the body together, giving greater to honor to the parts that lacked it, so that there would be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. Now, the beautiful aspect that God has revealed to me through Pascal's triangle is that this is a representation of the body of Christ. As Jesus came to earth, that he was the one and only begotten Son of God. That out of the overflow of the revelation, God so loves, that it says God so loved the world that he gave his one and only begotten Son, so that whosoever should believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Now, the beautiful thing about Jesus coming to earth, though, is it says that Jesus, who was the Son of God, did not come to be served, but to serve and to give himself up as a ransom for many. And Jesus then teaches likewise that if you want to be first, that the way you do that is you become the slave of all. Therefore, Jesus emptied his life out and he became the slave of all at this very bottom portion, that all of the weight of everything of humanity was set upon him. He was right dead center in the middle of the slave of all in order to impoverish himself so that through him we might become rich. Therefore, in Jesus humbling himself before the Father in obedience, it says that the Father then exalted Jesus to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every other name, so that at the name of Jesus, every tongue will confess and every knee bow in heaven, on earth, and under the earth, that Jesus is the Lord, to the glory of the Father. Now, out of that then, so many things running through my heart and mind right now, friends. Out of that Jesus, he humbles himself, and that he is on the bottom of the stack as the slave of all. And that then he honors us. He lifts us up and gives us a place of honor and exalts us as his servant in the earth to shine, to let our good works be seen before all men, that they would see our good works right here, that we're a city on a hill, shining brightly, arise and shine, for your light has come, but that they see our good works shining like the stars in the heaven, and they glorify our Father. With that, though, fam, the beautiful aspect of this whole process is that while Jesus lifts us up in honor to serve our Father, to have a participation within his reward forever, which is insanity, conversation for a different time, that through this process of ordering all of the pathways, that the most pathways that are running to one point are all heading right here to be distributed through Jesus. Now you take this back through Ephesians chapter 4, that it says that it is Jesus who gave gifts and apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers to equip the saints for the works of the service, to build up the body into the fullest image of Christ, who is our head. Now, with that then, all resources are flowing to us through Christ, but that they also flow all through us to Christ to be redistributed as he sees fit. And our Father is ordering all of this according to his sovereign goodness. I hope that you're tracking. Oh my word. You have no idea how many things I am editing out of this revelation. Now, through that, as I was working with all of these numbers, I'm really not a math whiz. I'm just really good at studying things out on Wikipedia. And as I've studied all these things out, and I'm working with the math, God, show me how this works. I want to understand your kingdom. That God revealed through Wikipedia that all of these rows are exponents of the number 11. So in this very first one, it's just 1. But our second row is 11 to the power of 1, which is 1. Third row is 11 to the power of 2, which is 121. Third row is 11 to the power of 3, which is 1,331. The next one, as you can guess, is 14,641. And then there's some other funky math that you can use to decode all of these lines that have larger numbers, 2-digit numbers within each square. As you move forward, it's 11 to the power of whatever this integer is in this second row. Now, as I was working with all of this, friends, that I got out ahead of me, and rather than using the function of my exponent, instead, I typed in 11 times 11. Now, fam, there are no coincidences or mistakes in the kingdom, and that God often takes our very childlike curiosity. That just, I want to see your ways, Father. I'm working on this math as hard as I can, and he uses our childlike curiosity and passion to reveal very deep encouragement to our hearts where we're not really even looking for it. Friends, that when you have 11 times 11, that it's 121. 1, 2, 1, just like we see right here. That then when we take 111 times 111, it just so happens to be 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 12,321. Do you see a pattern at all? Let's try 1,111. It just so happens to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1,234,321. Are you seeing the pattern? Fam, as I went down the line, that when I got to the 10th row, so that it's 11,111, that number comes out to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fam, if you've been with me for a while, you'll know that the dream that I had in the night, March 17th, 2018, that God revealed extraordinary life with Elijah, that it was going to transform culture in business and in church and family and government and school, that all aspects of life in the earth. So overwhelmed in the dream, and that as I was waking up, that God said, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, so 3, 2, 1, go. And I woke up and it was 3:21 a.m. Throughout the entire process of Extraordinary Life with Elijah, the number 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 has been an undulating pattern throughout the entire process. That then in this last week that God revealed, this is unfolding in a pattern of 11 times 11 times 111 times 111, etc. and so forth, and that this whole system and the math and the dynamics of this is wrapped around the number 11. As I began to discover these things with the Lord, he was encouraging my heart. He's like, son, are you paying attention? Yes, Father. Paying attention. He said, Elijah, where did all of this start? That I was just in a place of awe and prayer with him, just thanking him like, Father, this is so simple to you. This is so incredibly simple for you, but it's just blowing my mind. I praise you. I thank you for your goodness. Thank you for encouraging me, showing me that you're with me and that we're building things together. I said, where did all this start? I said, oh, well, it started with that dream that I had in the night about that you revealed all that stuff about the fourth dimension and so mind-blowing. He said, Elijah, when was that dream? I said, well, I've never stopped to calculate the exact date, but I know how to find it because I had the same dream on the day my friend, mentor, and spiritual father, Tim Owen, died to go and be with the Lord. I was in formal ministry with the Christian Missionary Alliance for a number of years. In my first ministry, I was released from that ministry by unanimous board decision. I had all sorts of trauma and questions and hurt and pain. It almost became another statistic in the long line of people who love Jesus but hate the church. I was about 4 weeks into my process of having been let go, and Tim reached out to me and said, I haven't seen you for a while, kid, and I thought I'd check in with you. You want to go grab a Coke? No, Tim. People have stopped grabbing Cokes for a long time, but I will get some coffee with you. Tim didn't drink coffee, but he said, I'll meet you wherever you want to. I'd love to check in, see how you're doing, and just chat with you for a while. He met me at a place called Harper and Madison. Tim came in, he was wearing a fedora and a 3/4 length raincoat. He looked like a mob boss, sat down on the front of his chair, highlighting the fact that our chat wasn't going to be long. He said, tell me how you're doing. Well, I told Tim I was doing great. I was enjoying my time reading and journaling, and you didn't want to BS Tim Owen. That was not a good idea. He cut right to the chase and said, son, I didn't come here to have you tell me lies and beat around the bush. How are you doing? I said, okay. Your honesty and your directness should be honored with directness as well. And I began to sound off on him. I was sharing my heart and my feelings and my pain, but unfortunately I shifted into a place where I began to shoot at Tim. I began to malign the church, throw stones at the bride, and I was spun up to ramming speed when Tim stopped me and said, son, I'm going to stop you right there. It was the only time in spending one-on-one time with Tim that I ever saw him cry. He said, son, you're incredibly hurt, and you can't see through your hurt how ignorant and arrogant you are. But I'm going to pray that God breaks you, and when he does, he's going to bring you back, and you're going to do powerful things for the kingdom. As soon as he got done saying that, friends, he stood up and walked out of the coffee shop. No rebuttal, no follow-up remarks. And friends, in that moment, I was so incredibly angry and hurt at my friend. So as I moved forward, I was broken. The Lord broke me. He introduced me to my ignorance and my arrogance. He healed my heart, brought me back, and gave me a great love for the church, an abiding passion to minister to the bride of Christ. It was then on April 7th that I woke up in the morning, early morning. I had a dream with God in the night. He showed me such wonderful revelations. I got up, traveled to Santa Ana, El Salvador, with my friend Sarah to talk with Iglesia Gethsemane about a church partnership and church partnership evangelism. I was by myself. Charlotte was at a women's conference in the United States as one of the keynote speakers. I was batching it up. And as I traveled, I remember I tried my absolute best to tell Sarah in broken Spanish about what I had experienced, that as she spoke with Iglesia Gethsemane, and I sat there and stood up as the token gringo, waved at everyone, and sat back down, that I had a little red journal, and I almost lit that thing on fire, writing down the things that God had revealed so that I wouldn't lose them. Then we went to the lunch after service, and I was sitting in the corner listening to her family chattering on in Spanish and continuing to write in my journal, that my phone went off in my pocket. And I didn't often get calls because the reception was so poor, and that I looked and it was Charlotte calling from the United States. I answered the phone, ran out into the courtyard, held really still, and that I said, Charla, what's going on? She said, Elijah, I'm calling to tell you that Tim passed away here this morning. He's gone on into glory. And friends, I remember I stood in the courtyard and wept. That I realized that my friend had passed on. It wasn't until years later that I saw that my spiritual father had planted a seed in my life and that I had received a spiritual inheritance from a spiritual father choosing to take his position in the lowest position as a servant of all, and that he lifted me in prayer before the Father to be honored as a hurt and unpresentable part who needed to be treated with special modesty, but that he lifted me up before the Lord and allowed the grace and the anointing of his life to be poured into my own. As I found out that my dream had come on April 7th, 2013, the Father said, get out your date calculator and find out how long it was from that point in time to when I called you to go under the crawl space in your house at 137 Gina Circle. Friends, in my process of all of my mathing, I did a fun project to see all of the ones, so 111 times 111 and 1,111 times 1,111, all the way up to 11 million, etc. and so forth. I made a pyramid that was 10 rows long to be able to have 10 ones in a row. And I wanted to know how many ones, how many positions, numbers are involved in that entire triangle, and that I found at the base of that triangle that there are a total of 55 ones. Friends, when I typed in the two dates of Sunday, April 7th, 2013, to November 7th, 2017, I found out that it was exactly 55 months. Family, my father is so incredibly impish at times that he pokes his head out of heaven, sees shadows in my heart, and says, we need to turn up the light of the sun in your life, Elijah. He said it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. So 3, 2, 1, go. When you add up 1, 2, 3, you get the number 6. As a parent generation walks in the faithfulness of God, the consistent actions of faith over time, releasing the fullness of faith, and they pass that to the next generation as an inheritance, that their children get to look on and say, wow, it's as simple as obedience before the Father. Obedience is my responsibility, results are the responsibility of God. And my parents walked in the simplicity of a 1, 2, 3, so 3, 2, 1, go faith. I will walk in their footsteps. That God graciously takes that as an inheritance passed to the next generation as an exponent of 1 to the first power, 2 to the second power, and 3 to the third power, which equals 32. Friends, all throughout the Old Testament in the Hebrew, the gematria of the number 32 is the word lave, which means heart and passion. This entire last week, with the Lord, I have been studying out Jeremiah 29:13. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all of your heart. I will be found by you, declares the sovereign Lord. Friends, when a parent generation seeks the Lord with all of their heart, and they find him, they receive him, and their children see, this is how you find the Lord. Friends, the heart of God is then passed on to the next generation in an increased inheritance of love and passion. Within Genesis chapter 1, Elohim is mentioned 32 times. That Jews see that then as God revealing his heart and passion expressed within his will, the overflow of his pure desires to see himself pleased in the fulfillment of his satisfaction. Family, it's in this place then, this week, that as I look back to see how a father in the faith imparted to me a spiritual inheritance on the very day that he left earth, and that 55 months later, that God called me under the crawl space of my house to begin praying into the foundations of the church on the Sabbath rest that was 500 years after the Reformation. Oh, Jesus. And that here in this space, that then God would encourage my heart to show me that the revelation that he gave me in the night, 1, 2, 3, so 3, 2, 1, go, is ordered within the structure of his church. Every part in the body ordered exactly as he has ordered it, so that there would be no divisions, and that Jesus is releasing grace outwards into the church as he apportions it through apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers to equip the saints for the works of the service, to build itself up in love and to the fullest stature of Christ, who is our head. That all of that would be 55 months after a spiritual father went to be with the Lord. Family, there are so many more things that God has encouraged me in and revealed. They're more than I can share with you at this time. So, if you subscribe to what I am doing and would like to participate in those things moving forward, hit the button, hit it, and then get it. Hit the bell as well so you get notified with the new content. And if you loved this video, you didn't just like it, then hit the thumbs down button. I pray blessings on all of our lives together. I love you guys lots, and I will see you in the next video.